data distribution. We've got members in the EU Parliament who are all calling for people to start sharing their research data. And then we're seeing some funders who are now starting to say that you need to have a policy around how you're going to manage your data, how you're going to share it, but they're not exactly providing a great deal of support on how best to do that. In the UK, especially, we've got some of the most pointed language saying, where a lot of funders are saying that it's the responsibility of the researcher to have a solution in place. EPSRC are saying from the 1st of May, it's up to the institution that the researchers at, that they need to provide a solution to their researchers. That completely changes it, and it remains to be seen what happens on the 1st of May. But this is something that we refer to at Figshare as the open academic tidal wave. And we talk all around the world to all different people, and it seems that there's no doubt that we will get to point 6, which is, so everybody at the moment is recommending open access to scholarly papers and outputs. Some people are starting to mandate open access of scholarly papers. Some people are starting to mandate digital outputs. How that is then enforced and what the penalties will be on the researchers is yet to kind of come into fruition, but because this is all relatively new stuff, we're waiting to see. But there's kind of no question in the wider research community that at some point in the future, you are going to be required to share all of your data if you are funded by a government-funded agency. So yeah, just a quick plug is we at Figshare have developed a solution that helps UK institutions and other institutions around the world that helps people deal with this problem. So not just about storing the data somewhere, it's about making it discoverable, it's make sure you can manage it in an appropriate way, that sensitive data and all the likes of that is taken care of, and then finally making sure that the data is promoted and shared. So, as I was saying, we're hearing lots of rhetoric around from funders, from publishers, saying that you need to start sharing your data. There's lots of arguments that we hear against it, but we feel that we're in the stage now where people just need good examples, good case studies of why they should share their data to help people kind of move along, to kind of remove a lot of these blockers. And so I'm taking the example of the Wellcome Trust APC data that they put on earlier this year. So for those of you that aren't familiar with it, I'll give you a quick run through the story. So Robert Kiley at the Wellcome Trust wanted to make the debate around open access and the charges that apply to it a little bit more transparent, because some people are saying that it's bad, it's more expensive, the libraries are being charged twice, etc., etc. Lots of arguments against open access. So he was like, well, let's try and make this a little bit more evidence-based. Got a bunch of the APC data from the Wellcome Trust from 2012 and 2013, put it on Figshare, and when I spoke to him, he literally said he thought he would tweet it, no one would kind of notice it, and it would disappear. But at least the evidence was out there. And basically the opposite happened. So straight away when it was released, the article was picked up by Research Information, which then obviously got a lot more eyeballs on it. Actually, initially as well, someone came along, so I'll keep going through the narrative. So it was released on Research Information, and then Michelle Brook from the Open Knowledge got that. No, so this was the very first data that was released. It's 5 columns of data. It's very simple. It's PubMed IDs, the publisher, journal articles, the article titles, and the cost of the article. From there, Cameron Nayland then built a bit of code and cleaned up and disambiguated all of the columns. So straight away, they put out a very messy data set, and then people in the community started saying, well, this is good, but it's not good enough to reuse. So people started building on top of it, and then Cameron put code on GitHub, which we integrate with GitHub. We had a partnership with Mozilla, GitHub, and BigShare to try and promote code as a research object. From there, Cameron and Ernesto then put up another data set that's cleaned with all the publisher names disambiguated. So you could very straight away start seeing a better overview of the data. And then from there, people started picking up the article, started writing blog posts about it, actually analyzing the data, drawing insights from it. So this is Ernesto and Michelle again, talking about, we need greater clarity in the different licenses that publishers are using. And then from here, this is the Google Doc that I referred to earlier. Michelle took the doc, wrote a blog post about it, and said, everybody in the community, here is an open spreadsheet that everyone can come and add to. Add columns to it. And then, so what was initially 5 rows of very messy data is now something like 23 rows of very clean data that's been validated by the community. From there, again, some more apps were written on top of the data to allow you to very easily browse it. More blog posts, more analysis was done. And then Peter down the front here, I don't know if you can share like the story that you found within the data.
Oh yes, it's only Elsevier because we wanted to talk about it. No, it's just that there were a number of quotes open access articles that people paid for, which Elsevier was still putting down the paywall, and they said it was due to bumps in the road to open access. Right? I got it into the
So yeah, and then so now this is being picked up by mainstream media that Elsevier were not complying with very simple open access mandates, and that they were actually charging researchers twice to publish open access and then to access it. Again, all from a data set that Robert Carley from Open Trust said is going to put up there, tweet it, and nothing is going to happen. And then from there, the Welcome Trust wrote another blog post kind of giving everyone an update. Michelle very kindly said thank you for putting the data up there. And then, so they put more data up there. And then that encouraged Imperial to put data up there. For Warwick, Cambridge put data up there, RC UK. So from one data set and a very kind of ambiguous argument, it's now a very data-driven and evidence-based argument talking about APCs. And then, again, Robert being a little bit more inflammatory with this data set, lists of journals that do not provide a publishing option compliant with the trust. That's pretty, obvious, and it's good data to have out there. And then the funny thing about that is that people started using this data set as an argument against open access, so saying, well, it's actually quite expensive when you start seeing that it's $5,000 an article, $2,000 an article. That's very expensive. So then Stuart Lawson, who also pulled together a lot of this APC data, then put up this, which is freedom of information at requests to UK universities to see how much they pay in journal subscriptions. So now we can hold up the APC data versus how much we pay in traditional publishing costs. Again, so yeah, that's basically the case study. And yeah, big thanks to everyone who got involved in it, a few people in the room, Robert Kiley for putting the data up there, Stuart Lawson very much so for enriching it, Michelle for writing blog posts, and the whole community for getting involved. So that brings me back to the original kind of questions. And so I think we're going to split it up into groups, probably 4 groups.
I was thinking maybe we just pick the same like
this half and that half?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
cool.
just based on my listening, yeah.
Okay, cool. And then coming back to these questions. So, why open data? There's lots of reasons for it. Why not? Are you still apprehensive? What are the obstacles? What are the incentives? What are the rewards? Do you have any examples like Welcome Trust case study? And after the end of it, hopefully you guys all take something away and then you come and do a little bit different. So thank you and look forward to having a discussion.
together, and each group can kind of share what they think or what they've learned from the rest of the years. So, without all, do I think you six might be quite nice to you? Is that okay? If you haven't got pens or paper, just put your hand up.
Yeah, very good.
Maybe
Leaving.